簡単には突破できそうにないな。
くそ、めんどくせえところに。
かなり警戒してやがるな。
ここ抜けるしかないよね。
やるか。
当たって砕けよ。
砕けるのは困るが、その方針は支持しよう。ノクト、最初から全力だ。衝撃で半数を潰す。陽動を頼むがいいか。
了解。
Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. Let's have a look at Noctis, the 7-star level 120 version. And as for my experience with Final Fantasy 15, I do like the game. I like how it plays, I like all the main characters. Unfortunately, I never finished it. I was just in a place in my life where somebody needed the PlayStation 4 more than me. I don't know who really needs a PlayStation 4. But I gave it to them along with Final Fantasy 15, so unfortunately I couldn't finish it. It is on my to-do list. Someday, though, I would like to finish that game, because I do like that. And then I really liked Noctis as a 6-star, back when that was the, the state of the game. And the thing about Noctis is that he is not the best at anything. I feel like in the 6-star meta, that was fine, and you could use him all kinds of places because he's very versatile. But in the 7-star meta, the very, very high-level content, you really need guys that are kind of more specialized and that are the best at something. And yet, I find myself just continue to use Noctis. I really liked him as a 6-star. I still like him as a 7-star. If you saw my clears of like Antonella or Leviathan 3-star, I used him in there and he's still really good, so... but I would say in the 7-star meta, there's 3 things that you want to use him for. The first is for Arena. He's still one of the best characters for there. Second is as an evade provoke tank. And then finally, the third way to use him is as a solo character, meaning he's the only character on your team that you use to beat missions or bosses. And then we'll talk about him in that order. But first, his Trustmaster, we'll look at that. Still one of the best Trustmasters in the game. Gives you attack and magic 30% up, so good for magic users, good for attackers, good for hybrid attackers. It also gives you 25% evade, which is kind of a necessary step to get a character to 100% evade. And then also gives you death, which I don't think anybody uses. Alterna can be useful if you want to, clear with a magic. It's a very slow magic spell. But you put Ring of Lucii on them and then anybody can use it, so it's useful for that. And then Holy, which is a counterattack, and this can be useful because, it does some damage, but it also restores your MP. This is useful in most cases, but in some cases there are places where you do not want to counterattack, like Calcabrena, I think, so you don't want to use Ring of the Lucii in there. And then the Super Trustmaster. This is also really good. I'm 1 Noctis away from this. I hope I get it. But a lot of stats up, and then most elements. No dark and light, but everything else up 20%, and then fills the limit break gauge. Really, really good Super Trustmaster. It's kind of similar to Zargabath's Super Trustmaster. And I use that all the time, so I look forward to getting this and then using this all the time as well. But first of all, how to use him in the arena. And then he is best in the arena when you use him to inflict status ailments. That's always been a good way to go through arena, it still is. And then kind of the main attack that you want to use is Fire Flask. This will hit one time, and then it has like, what, 30% chance to inflict some random status ailments. So that's nice. And then, as a 7-star, he picks up Quintcast, and then this can hit anywhere between 2 and 5 times. So that's more chances to enable more status ailments. So this could be better, but it does take more MP, so you do have to be careful about that. And that's basically it for Noctis in the arena. He's really good, he's on pretty much every team I have. Sometimes there are weeks where status ailments are disabled, and then I take Noctis off my team. But otherwise I use him and then one of those 2 abilities. The thing about Noctis is that if you dual wield with him, you'll get double the number of attacks with Fire Flask and Quintcast. So you do want to dual wield with him. That will kind of double your chances of inflicting status ailments on the enemies. And then he's got a bunch of other things that work with true dual wield. Let's see, I think one of them is Sword of the Father. Yes, he gets 30% true dual wield. So yeah, give him that, he'll get the attack boost. You can also give him like Adam's TMR, or Aloha Laswell's TMR, get some extra true dual wield in there. And then we see he also gets attack and magic boosts when he's equipped with a sword. We definitely want to have at least one of his weapons be a sword. Because yeah, he'll get a lot of buffs that way. Unfortunately, Noctis does not have any innate dual wield, so we have to give him like Genji Glove or Awesome Swordsman. That would be maybe the ideal one, since that gives buffs for swords and other stuff as well. He can use throwing weapons, so fixed dice is an option for him. I feel like that was more viable though in the 6-star meta, not so much now. So now I would pretty much focus on Noctis as a dual wielder with at least one sword. Alright, so that is Noctis as an arena character. The second way that you really want to use him is as a provoke evade tank. And I would say he's still the best at that, so he does still have that niche even in the 7-star meta. The reason why I say that is because he has 20% innate evade, and then he gets another 25 from using his Trust Master, the Ring of the Lucii. And then he has a provoke action in him, Fish. Other good provoke evade tanks are Folan. He also has innate evade, and then the provoke action. Zargabath is another good one, but he does not have a provoke action. So you need to give him like Golem or Moogle Plushie or stuff like that. So that's why I would say Noctis is still the best. And then he has much better support abilities, or like a variety of things that he can do. Much more than Folan. So for that, Noctis is still number 1. And then as we can see, we can upgrade Fish, his provoke attack. I would definitely do this, because it raises the length of it from 1 turn to 2. So yeah, needing to do the provoke every single turn is not going to make Noctis very versatile or useful. So definitely level this up. You also want to upgrade Chosen King. This will give you more stats and things. And then, what's the last one? Link. I really like Link. It fills the limit break gauge for Noctis, and then his limit break is very useful. And then also, when you are dual wielding, Noctis is going to use Link twice when you select this, so that will be double the limit break fill amount. So yeah, yet another reason to do the dual wield with Noctis. It does give a little bit of a buff to all of your party. It's only like 45% though, so that's almost nothing, but still better than nothing. And then to talk about his limit break, I really like it, but it's just barely good enough, I would say, in the 7-star meta. It does buff your team. If you max it out, it'll be like 130%, which is good. And then also does some damage to the enemy, and then gives some damage mitigation. Unfortunately, just to Noctis. I wish it gave it to everybody, but it's just for him. Back in the 6-star meta, I would say Noctis would have been close to like a top-tier buffer. But now with like Seaside Nicole or Zargabath, not so much. but in kind of medium, difficulty content, he could be good enough as a buffer. And that's exactly what he did for me in Antonella. There's one other ability that you can enhance on Noctis, and that would be the Warp Strike. I would not do this though, because it only raises the damage by like 50%, and then raises the debuff by 5%. So yeah, it's pretty expensive, and I don't think it's worth it to do that. But if you are going to use Noctis, then upgrade everything else. And then finally, the third way that I would want to use Noctis is just kind of as a fun way. This is not going to be necessary for anyone, but it's to use Noctis as a solo character. And there are a few JP players who like to do that. Every time like a new limited time boss comes around, they'll attempt it with like a solo Noctis. And the reason why he is good for this is because he can reach 100% evade, which is kind of necessary for a solo character. And then he has ways to kind of sustain himself. With the Ring of the Lucii, he gets that MP recovery. He has innate HP, like counter attack recovery, and then he can do some decent damage by himself as well. Before, his main source of damage was the Warp Strike, but now he has 2 new abilities as a 7-star that he can use for damage. One is the Quintcast, like I said before. This is if you need magic damage. And then he has a skill unlocked by his cooldown skill, the Faithful Air. And then the name of the damaging skill is Armiger Wakes. This is also a random skill, hits between, I think, 2 and 6 times, and then does lots of damage. It doesn't really chain with anything. But if you're using him solo, then it doesn't matter anyway. And then the Armiger Awakes, it also is doubled if you dual wield with him. So yes, yet another reason to use dual wield with Noctis. And then I think this was buffed in global. Like we have like Faithful Air earlier, so we can do damage with Noctis earlier as well. So in sum, I would say that Noctis is not necessary for anyone. But if you're a fan of the character, or you're a fan of kind of funky, versatile characters, then Noctis would be good to use, I think. I think the character that Noctis is maybe the most similar to is Zargabath, just because they can both, do so many things, and then they're both pretty good as evade provoke tanks. The thing about Zargabath is that he has one thing that he is excellent as, and that is a support character. He can do nice buffs, damage mitigation, elemental resistance, re-raise, healing, all of that stuff. Noctis, he does other things, and then he's more focused on damage. So that's kind of where the big difference comes between Noctis and Zargabath. Zargabath is more a support character, Noctis is more of a damage character. Unfortunately, while Zargabath is a top-tier support character, Noctis is not a top-tier damage character. So yeah, for most people, Zargabath is going to be the better choice. Okay, finally, let's look at Noctis's Armiger Wakes. I don't think I need to show his provoke, evade use, or his arena use. You're probably already familiar with that. But let's see how he does with damage as a 7-star. And then, just like Balthier, we'll take him to Eleficaris. So we'll use a Faithful Air that will fill his limit break gauge and then enable his Armiger Awakes. You need limit break gauge in order to use it, so let's do that. And then this Noctis, I have him dual wielding, of course, and then he's using a wind weapon in addition to a sword, which is kind of the best setup against Eleficaris. And then I gave him some Slayers as well. Alright, so that was a pretty good roll, lots of hits, and then about 40% of the boss's life. That's pretty good. And yeah, in the JP version, that cooldown skill is not available turn 1 for Noctis. So on starting turn 2, we can start to do really good damage with Noctis. So that makes him a lot faster to use than in JP. Alright, so there's the second round of Armiger Awakes. Another good roll, so lots of damage to the boss. Okay, final attack. We still have enough limit break gauge to do that. He does get a lot of crystals from all the hits, you know, from the Armiger Awakes. Let's see if this is enough, and yes, okay. Alright, so Eleficaris down in 4 turns, and then actually Balthier, when I used him, that took the full 8 turns, because he could only really unlock his, you know, Elemental Imbue, and then his cooldown skill after 4 turns, so... Yeah, in that sense, Noctis can be faster, but in order to get really good results out of Armiger Awakes, you really have to build him for attack and slayers and stuff, and then you kind of ignore like his evade aspect, or maybe his limit break gauge fill aspect. But he does have that versatility. So yeah, in short, I would say Noctis is a fun character, and he's very versatile. But for like the really high level content, I don't think he's going to be a good choice. Just because he doesn't really specialize in anything. Probably the one thing that he is the best at is a evade provoke tank. So if you need to fill that role, and then you need some kind of light support stuff on the side, I think he would work in that way. Alright, so that was a look at Noctis, 7-star, level 120. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you again. Take care.